Hey guys, welcome back. I really hope you're all good. It is a brand new week and today I'm going to talk to you about what is in my travel first aid kit. Very quick disclaimer here, I am not a trained nurse, doctor or pharmacist. I have worked in healthcare for a number of years, that is my main occupational background, and with that in mind, my travel first aid kit may be a little bit more extensive than some people's, probably not as extensive as others, but that is why you may look at some things and go, what the hell has she got that for? First of all, I have a bag that I carry things around in. At the moment I haven't decided which one I'm going to take this time. It's going to be one of these or possibly something else. I do own a proper first aid kit bag, but it's too bulky for me to take while I'm traveling. I had it for when I was teaching dance fitness. I used to take it to all of my classes just in case of any injuries. So it really doesn't matter what you put your first aid kit in. You can buy the ones in the shops, but they are seriously basic. You'll get a couple of plasters, a bit of tapes and safety pins. It is way better to build up your own kit to fit your needs because it's going to vary depending on where you're going and what you're doing. I always take some ibuprofen. Ibuprofen belongs to a family of drugs called NSAIDS, which is non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. So they relieve pain, but they also help with inflammation. So I always carry ibuprofen in case I sort of sprain my ankle, or if I've got a sore throat, it helps with that as well. Just be aware that sometimes if you're asthmatic, you can't take ibuprofen or other NSAIDs, so do check with your doctor on that one. The other pain relief I take is good old-fashioned paracetamol. Not only is this a pain relief, it helps bring down any fevers that you may have whilst you're traveling. So those two, always have. Always. Let's move on now to gastrointestinal stuff. You may be aware that travellers often get diarrhea or sickness from things they've eaten or just a change in diet. So there are a few things that I like to take with me for that. The first little thing I've got is anti-diarrhea medication. Now, you've probably heard of the brand Imodium. These are more expensive than what I've got here. The active ingredient is loperamide, which is the same as the Imodium, but they are way cheaper. So that's a top tip. If you can find a brand that you know works for you, look at the active ingredient and see if there's a home brand that has that in, because they will always be cheaper. With diarrhea, it's generally better to let it go out of your system, but sometimes you can't do that. Maybe you've got a long bus journey or a train journey or limited access to toilets. So that is why I always carry some loperamide with me. Along with that, I always have some rehydration treatment. This helps with any vomiting, diarrhea. It just replaces things that the body's lost. And it's also really good if you find that you've been sweating a lot, as it replaces the electrolytes there. So take a couple of sachets of that as well. The last one that I have in my gastrointestinal section is some wind relief tablets. I know, not sexy, but I have these because I find that when I'm flying, I get really bloated on planes, and sometimes it's really uncomfortable with the gas buildup. So I always like to have just a few of these little wind relief tablets. What's in them? Aluminium hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, and simethicone. So antihistamines help with any allergies, any skin problems. So if you get like allergic dermatitis or things like that, they can help. And it also is useful for any insect bites. I carry two different antihistamines for a variety of purposes. The first one that I have has an active ingredient called CETIRIZINE, and this is meant to be a non-drowsy antihistamine. So I like to have that with me in case I get any skin reaction to the heat or sun, or any sort of allergic dermatitis that I occasionally get. And I have that so that I can take it during the day and not feel sleepy. The second antihistamine that I have goes by the name of PHENERGAN or PROMETHAZINE. And I have this one for a slightly different reason. Although it is an antihistamine, it also has quite a sedative effect, and I suffer quite badly at times from insomnia. So if I'm really struggling to sleep, I often will take one of these. And it also can help with nausea, so it has like a dual purpose. If you're unfortunate like me and suffer from travel sickness, whether it's planes, trains, buses or boats, you are not going to want to be feeling nauseous for a long journey. For this, I have a handy little gadget which I used as a child and I haven't had as an adult, but I really wish I had one when I was in Australia, and they're little bands. that have like a little bobble inside. And you put them on your wrist. The idea is that they work on the acupressure point to stop you feeling nauseous. From the crease of your wrist, 3 fingers down, and the little bobble sits just on the edge of the 3rd finger in between the 2 tendons. So you can use those whilst you're traveling, you can sleep in them perfectly safe. And the other thing that I have picked up is some anti-sickness tablets. These ones I haven't used before. What are they? HYOSCINE, HYDROBROMIDE, but the man in the pharmacy told me they were good because they're slightly longer acting and apparently they work within about 20 minutes. So if you suddenly start feeling sick, have some shorter acting ones as well as your other prevention. I'm going to now move on to dressings and wound care stuff. This is where I can personally get a little bit carried away. Always have a selection of plasters in varying sizes. I've got little ones and slightly bigger ones as well. Plasters for disasters. I also like to carry a couple of antiseptic wipes just in case of anything that I need to clean on the road. A pair of gloves. This is not so much for me, but in case I need to help someone else and I don't want to get their blood all over me, I just have a little pair of gloves. Some cheap crepe bandages. These are really cheap and they're not very reusable, but they will get you through until you can get somewhere to get something stronger, something better. They're just really handy for either holding dressings on or just giving you a little bit of support in the meantime. And to go with those, I like to have a couple of safety pins, a pair of scissors, which are just used for medical stuff, not like cutting my nails or anything grimy, some basic MICROPORE tape, some more sticky elastoplast sort of strapping. I won't take all of this, it's quite a chunky roll. That's really good, and it's also quite useful for fixing other things. And the last sort of fixing bit is something I have called HYPAFIX, and that's kind of like a fabric back sticky thing that you peel the backing off of, and it can just go over a wound pad or some gauze or whatever. Again, not taking the whole roll, I'll cut some off nearer the time. And in terms of dressings themselves, I like to have a low adherent wound pad, mainly because gauze can often stick to the wound, so when you take it off it can make it worse. So I always like to have something that doesn't stick so much. Another thing that fits this sort of category that I have is something called MEPITEL. And this is amazing stuff. To be honest, it's just the end of my stock. I wouldn't go out and buy it, but I will take it because I've got it. It's kind of like a film with little holes in, and it feels like silicone, so you put it over the wound and it doesn't stick. It's really good if you want to put it down under something else, because that way when you peel it off, you're not going to take off all the new skin that's formed and make the wound worse again. I also use something very similar to this for burns called JELONET. It's a similar sort of structure, but it has something on there to help with the burn. You only leave it on for up to 48 hours. I haven't got any here to show you, but I probably will be getting some because it is amazing. It can really help with scarring and it is super soothing if you do burn yourself. A few little gauze swabs just in case there's bleeding or, you know, stuff. And I think that's all of my dressings and bits. The other thing that I will be getting that I can't show you today is something I discovered completely by accident the other day at work. I pulled my wrist and I went over to the little supermarket over from the pub I work in to get a bandage just to support it. They didn't have any, so I ended up going into the vet's. Getting some very strange looks from the lady in there, but she sold me a cohesive bandage, and I'll pop a little picture up here. These things are amazing. I've never used one before. They're really supportive and they stick to themselves, so it would help for travellers because you don't need the safety pins or the tapes or anything else, and I think they'd be really good for sprains and strains or any like sports related injuries. So I'm going to grab one of those from Amazon before I go and definitely take some with me. You heard it here first. Dog bandages are great for travellers. They do also use them on humans, by the way, it's not just for dogs. Let's go on to gels and lotions that I take. So I have something here called LANACANE. Oh, there we go. And I used to use this on my sports bra when I was doing long dance training sessions. When I was teaching dance fitness, it just prevented rubbing, but I'm taking it with me because sometimes backpacks, if you've got like bare skin, can rub or chafe a bit, and this, my friends, will help. And the other little creamy thing that I'm taking is some hydrocortisone bite and sting relief. We hate mosquitoes and they like to bite me, so I've got some of this. It helps with irritation and inflammation, and you can just pop it on directly onto the area. And last but not least, this time round I am taking a digital travel thermometer. I'm going to be travelling in an area where knowing if you've got a fever can be quite useful because of the risk of malaria and more so dengue fever. So I am going to be taking a little travel thermometer. This was only £2 in my local Tesco, so I think that's a good investment. And the last thing that I'm going to finish up with is these. Yes, that's right, condoms. I don't take the contraceptive pill because it makes me even more insane than I already am. So I always carry some condoms with me. Please guys, with all of this stuff, but especially with these and the tablets I've mentioned, make sure they are in date. Something a lot of people don't know with condoms is if they are past their expiry date, they are more likely to disintegrate or tear or split. And I'm sure you don't want to go home with more than just your souvenirs if you weren't planning on it. Little interesting fact for you, in one of my previous jobs, I used to have to teach teenagers to put these on to a wooden penis called Pete. I should also mention that I only take a couple of bits of each thing just to tide me over until I can get to a pharmacy and get anything else. I also don't carry the boxes because they're so bulky, and you can imagine in your backpack how annoying they'd be. If you use a medication that you're not sure on how to take, the dosage, etc., you can always just cut off like the explanation on the back of the box, so you've just got a little flat bit and carry that with you. Most of what you take, you'll probably know how to take it, when to take it, and the dosage. Although I don't take the actual boxes, I do like to keep them in their little blister packs just because it does have the name of the drug on the back. So if you've got any problems with immigration or customs thinking you're trying to smuggle illegal stuff in, you've actually got it in the packaging. Do always check whether a drug in your home country is legal in the country you're traveling in, because you really don't want any issues there. And that wraps up my little travel first aid kit. I really hope this has been helpful. If you've got any questions, please drop them down below. Obviously, if you're not sure on what you should take, or if you can take a particular product or use a particular item, do check with your nurse, doctor or pharmacist before doing so. I will be back later in the week. In the meantime, you can catch me on all of my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and my blog. All the links are down there. Until next time, guys, much love, take care, bye!